Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, I'm going to cut my legs out from underneath me and just summarize the game immediately. First of all, congratulations to everybody. Well done. We all did our part. I talked to a half-Mexican attorney. He said that he scolded his son, told him he needed to come back inside because as soon as he left, things got hairy. Me and my son during commercials were playing catch as furiously as we could to that seemed to help the team, so we were making sure to do that. So I appreciate everybody's effort. We all came together and we won it for the team. In summary, there was a lot of stuff to be angry about. Plenty of stuff to look at and go, you've got to be freaking kidding me. But I think, and this is just a few minutes of decompression and thinking things through, I think the overall takeaway is the Packers demonstrated they are a significantly better team than the Texans. And you can say, well, that's not true. The turnovers are part of that. Okay, if you want to play that game, that's fine. Tell me, though, if both teams play a clean game, who wins? Let's say that Jordan is just a turnover machine at this point, right? So we're not saying that those are mistakes. That was just Jordan being Jordan. Let's give away one of those turnovers. Right, we talked yesterday or today or whenever that turnovers are about 50% luck. And let's look at all those ridiculous special teams blunders and assume that that doesn't happen. Are you seriously going to tell me that this team isn't significantly better than the Texans? First of all, the Packers defense, and I haven't dug into this a ton, but I'm just going to say it anyways. The Packers defense was better than the Texans defense. And the Texans have the second-ranked defense. This is week 2 weeks in a row that I watched a defense that was just shockingly good. With no turnovers, by the way. It had nothing to do with turnovers. It was just turnovers and no turnovers. Holy crap, that was a good defensive performance. Offensively, again, not perfect. The turnovers were catastrophic. The field position, largely because of mistakes by the special teams, made it really difficult to get things going. You can probably blame a little bit on play calling, and Jordan certainly did not have his best day. But they were able to move the ball when it mattered against one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. And let's also remember, I just want to remind you of the 2023 and the 2022 seasons. Because, and I'm speaking to the demons in my own mind who are saying, Jordan isn't that good. He's not as good as we thought. The turnovers are a disaster. The decision-making is abysmal. The accuracy is not good. This is never going to work. This is not good enough. Let me just remind you that we are still in the just find a way to win phase of the season. Yes, I wish that some of that stuff wasn't happening. And yes, some of the things that are happening make me nervous that maybe it won't change by the end of the year and that maybe that will mean that we're not good enough to actually win a Super Bowl this year. I understand that fear. But this is one of the toughest games we have on our schedule, and we just got a W. Furthermore, this is one of the best teams in football. We lost the turnover differential 3-0 and found a way to win the game. No matter what you want to say about this team, no matter what you want to say about Jordan specifically, this team is never out. I was out. When they scored that touchdown, I knew it was possible to come back, but our offense hadn't moved the ball in over a quarter. I don't want to say, I resigned myself to the fact that I had to watch this thing come to an end and then come down here and record a podcast and just be pissed. And what happened? They rose to the occasion. It was an interesting stat that they showed on that final drive. It was something to the effect of the Packers scoring drives when they were behind, they were 5 for 5. Scoring drives when they were ahead, they were 0 for 5. And you could certainly get pissed about the fact that they constantly refused to just take a commanding lead. But the fact that every single time the Packers are down, they responded. Every single time the offense was called upon, they responded. And by the way, the defense responded almost every single time as well. And by almost, I mean, I'm only saying almost because I'm guessing there was a time that wasn't the case. I think there was one time they drove down and scored, maybe twice, I don't know. But my goodness, that defense responded every time it was called upon with very few exceptions. And so what happened? The chips are down, lead change again, time to step up, time to make plays. Jordan steps up and makes plays. The wide receivers and the tight ends step up and make plays. The offensive line steps up. And frickin' believe it or not, our kicker steps up. I'm going to go through and do game balls in just a minute here, but again, remember, we are still in the just find a way phase of the season. You know, you look around the NFL, the Atlanta Falcons fell to the Seattle Seahawks. These are critical games. You just got to find ways to win, and they didn't do it. Cleveland against Cincinnati, it was a close game. You know, lose your quarterback, fall to a division rival. Not that you have much of a chance anyways, but stuff happens, man. Look at Minnesota and Detroit. I mean, that was, those two games were so similar. Constant lead change, maybe not as repetitive, like back and forth and back and forth. It was kind of Minnesota dominated, then Detroit dominated. Minnesota just all of a sudden comes firing back and takes a lead, and then Detroit ends up winning it. But again, you know, Minnesota, you're at home, divisional opponent. You just got to find a way to win. They didn't do it. Detroit, on the flip side, you know, wasn't the best game in the world. I mean, not that Detroit didn't necessarily play well, but again, every time I'm checking that game, I'm seeing injuries. I'm seeing all kinds of stuff. Not good. But yet you got to just find a way to come back, to stay in it, stay resilient. And they were in almost the exact same situation we were. It was hilarious. Last minute lead change. Minnesota takes the lead, just like Houston. Last minute takes the lead. Detroit has a limited time to drive down, get in field goal range, just like Green Bay did. Both teams drive down. Detroit got down a little fast. They had to burn a little clock. And then the Packers had a 45-yard kick to win the game. Detroit had a 44-yard kick. But again, Detroit, just find a way, man. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a lot of fumbles and mistakes like that. I think Goff threw picks and fumbles. Let me check real quick. Yeah, I guess they only lost the ball once, but they did fumble 3 different times in that game. But there's got to be, you know, it's weird because on one hand you look at this team and just go, you bunch of absolute idiot infants making the dumbest mistakes. Jaden Reed, why are you catching it in the end zone? The Keyshawn Ballantyne thing, which I am mostly putting on Keyshawn. Everybody started getting mad at Ballantyne. It's like, bro, first of all, he should have caught it. Second of all, he jumps out of the way at the last second. And third of all, by the time he's yelling fire, fire, or whatever the freaking code word is for the Packers, the ball basically already hit Ballantyne. But what are we doing? But again, at the exact same time, I want to look at the team and scold it. You look at a team that is mature in its ability to just continue to play against a tough opponent and find a way to win the game. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. There's no consolation prizes for least mistakes, least turnovers, most takeaway, whatever. There are no, fractional wins. The Texans are not going to get 0.25 wins and 1 loss for this. It's all or nothing. Win the game. It's a funny thing about the situation anyways, because it all balances out at the end. And if you're more upset than happy with a win, then you're overemphasizing the negative, obviously, because clearly they did enough to win. I mean, there are extenuating circumstances. Like if, for example, the Houston Texans, come on, you jag-off, if the Houston Texans had just gifted us some touchdowns, you could maybe scoff at that or something. But at the end of the day, it's about making more positive plays that impact the scoreboard than the other team. And obviously the Packers did that because they won by 2. So for every boneheaded thing that happened, every bad interception that was thrown, every ridiculous special teams play, every missed tackle, every whatever, there was something positive on the other side that accounted for more points than all the negative stuff. And if you just think about it for a second, what if, as stressful and scary as it is having a 5-1 team coming into Lambeau, if I had said, look, here's the deal. I'll make a deal with you, all right? I'll guarantee you a win, okay? However, Jordan's throwing 2 picks. One of them was real ugly. A lot of blunders, special teams disasters, some bad play calling, some bad penalties. I mean, well, what do you think? You want to take the deal or no? Well, freaking course you're going to take the deal. What are you talking about? On the flip side, there's not a bunch of boneheaded things that happen, but I can't guarantee you win. Texans might just be better than you. In which case, you lose. No, dude, I'm taking the deal. I'm taking the dub all day. I think this quote from Matt LaFleur pretty well sums it up.
It just, we'll never apologize for winning.
There you go. And listen, I promise you they're going to get back in the field room and some guys are going to get screamed at. Some guys are getting game balls. Some guys are getting spit on. Possibly literally. I don't know. Let's take a little bit of an early break because I want to start ripping through some of the specifics. I want to go through my specific thoughts and, going through the players, game ball, et cetera, et cetera. And then find out what's going on with the press conference, locker room type stuff. I haven't seen it aside from that one clip, so we will go through that together. But we'll take a break. We'll be right back. By the way, if you happen to be, no matter what, it's the worst possible day for Vikings fans. Bears get a bye week, so nothing happens to them. Lions win, Packers win, Vikings lose. It doesn't get much worse than that. But imagine if you were a Vikings fan that actually watched both games the way we actually set up 2 TVs upstairs. I brought the one from my office upstairs. We set it up so we could have the Vikings and Lions game on. If you were like simulcasting and watching, and you're watching your team win at 2 different points, the second point, it's like the game is close to over. You took the lead. Everything's going great. Texans overtake the Packers. Like, here we go. Everything's great with the world. And then last minute win by the Packers. Last second win by the Detroit Lions. I mean, that is the most devastating way for a week to go ever. And to lose at home to a division rival. I mean, that's, look, they're still 5-1. They're in a good spot, but that is the worst possible way that season or that week could have gone from their perspective. Anyways, let's go through some of this. Jordan Love was 24 of 33 for 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He took 3 sacks and had a 95.5 passer rating. I don't usually cover the other team, but I think this is very important. This is freaking insane. C.J. Stroud threw 21 passes. He only completed 10 for 86 yards. That's it. 10 completions for 86 yards. I looked into this a little bit. It's a pretty rare thing that happens, and usually it's just the worst quarterbacks ever that do this stuff. So since 2020, so the last 3.5 years or so, it's happened 14 separate times. It has happened to some good quarterbacks, or I guess 1.5 good quarterbacks. Joe Burrow in 2023, week 1, he threw 31 attempts for 82 yards. Pretty rough day for Joe Burrow. Baker Mayfield in 2021, similarly threw, where the heck is it here? 21 attempts, 11 completions for 73 yards. Other than that, it happens to guys like Brandon Allen, Tim Boyle, Tommy DeVito, Josh Dobbs, Justin Fields, Mike Glennon, Sam Howell, Colt McCoy, Bo Nix, Aiden O'Connell, Zach Wilson, and Bryce Young. It literally only ever happens, with very rare exceptions, to the worst quarterbacks coming in, filling in, and just having garbage days because they're garbage quarterbacks. It's very, very rare that these things happen to just normal quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud is a good quarterback. I said before, I don't think he's, based on what I've seen, he's very consistent. He's consistently good. And I'll be honest, I don't think he had a bad day. The stats suck, but I didn't watch him. We played a lot of bad quarterbacks that were just bad. They're throwing passes that are just missing. I saw C.J. Stroud maybe miss a pass. He is calm, cool, collected. He's solid under pressure. This was just an unbelievable defensive performance. 10 completions, 86 yards. Packers defense since the Super Bowl era has accomplished that 75 times. Since the 90s, because there's a lot of 1960s in there, that's only happened 20 times since the 90s that a Packers defense has held an opponent to 87 or less yards. 86 or less yards. So, not an impossible thing, but it is a rare thing, and it's a heck of a thing. It's happened 4 times since Matt LaFleur has been our head coach. Crying out loud. Actually, 2 of these do not seem correct. So I'm seeing Jimmy Garoppolo in the postseason. They beat us 37-20. Jimmy Garoppolo only threw for 77 yards in that freaking game. But of course, Raheem Mostert ran for 220 yards. Debo 43, Tevin 21, Breida 20. So what is that? Almost 300 yards on the ground, 77 passing. My lordy lord. And then the other one obviously was Justin Fields. Only 11 attempts though for 70 yards. So if you adjust for attempts, there might just be that one example of that happening. So fantastic defensive performance. And of course, I can't say fantastic performance of the other time that this happened, because that was one of the most garbage defensive performances in history. The reason there was no passes is because they were gashing us in the ground so bad. Anyways, flipping it over to the rushing, Josh Jacobs had a pretty fantastic day. Seemed like it was kind of streaky there a little bit. It was tough sledding for a little while, but he had some really nice breakaway runs. 12 carries, 76 yards, 6.3 average. 27 yards was his longest. We tried the Reed thing. That did not work. We tried Bo Melton. That lost a yard. We tried Christian Watson. That lost 4 yards. We tried running our receivers 3 times for a grand total of -5 yards, with none of them getting any positive yards. So that was not working today. Emmanuel Wilson, 5 carries, just 11 yards, 2.2 average. So fortunately, Josh Jacobs had a pretty good day because it was tough sledding out there. Conversely, I think a lot of people are upset about the run defense. I don't think it was that bad. Joe Mixon ran for 115 yards, yes, but that was on 25 carries. It's just 4.6 yards per attempt. I mean, it's not bad, but 4.6 is not anything special. I mean, that's a pretty average day, I would say. C.J. Stroud, 5 carries, 19 yards. That was 3.8. Ogunbowale ran once for 6 yards. That was 6 yards per carry. And then Dameon Pierce, 2 carries for 2 yards, which is 1 per carry. We'll get to the team stats in a little bit, but I think they were at like 4.3. So just barely over 4. It's, again, not that impressive. Looking at the receiving, the most targeted was Romeo Doubs. Holy crap, you want to talk about a game ball. Romeo Doubs, I mean, these last 2 weeks, he has been unbelievable. In this game, especially, 10 targets, which is a lot, 8 receptions. The guy has the hands of, I don't know, something cool. 8 receptions for 95 yards. 23 yards was his longest. Next most targeted was Dontavian Wicks. He was just 3 for 6, but he came up with some big ones, including the touchdown. 47 yards and a touchdown for him. After that, you had Josh Jacobs was actually the most targeted. He was 5 for 5 for 16 yards and a touchdown. Then Tucker Kraft and Jaden Reed, each with 4 targets. Tucker, 3 receptions, 33 yards and a touchdown. I thought Tucker had another fantastic day. Not as much utilization in the offense, but man, did he have some big plays. That touchdown catch is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen a tight end do in my life. My brain refused to acknowledge that was Tucker. I'm looking at it and I'm going, I don't know who that is, because he looks big and he looks pretty light-skinned. I'm struggling here. I don't know. I mean, Wicks is a bigger guy, but I don't think that's right. It looked like a Doubs catch, but I'm pretty sure that's not Romeo Doubs. Unbelievable diving, body-twisting catch by Tucker Kraft for that touchdown. He also had a really nice first down. I think it was on a 3rd down, too. Just making a DB eat the dirt and then going up and getting that first down as he tends to do. Real good day for Tucker. Jaden struggled today for sure. The end around went nowhere. The special teams was a disaster. As a receiver, there was really no production. 4 targets, 2 receptions, 10 yards. I'm not upset about it. Like I said, this is going to be an offense where 1 week is going to be this guy's week, 1 week's going to be that week. Jaden Reed has carried us in several games. I'm not going to start dumping on Jaden Reed, but this was not his game, that's for sure. Bo Melton, 1 target, 1 reception for 8 yards. Christian Watson, 2 targets, 1 reception for 9 yards. Ben Sims, 1 target, 1 reception, 2 yards. I don't even remember that. Then you have the defensive performance against the wide receivers, which is the other part of this that's amazing. Obviously, you know it's low because we already talked about how little production the quarterback had throwing. This is just the other side of that. But Stephon Diggs was targeted 7 times, had 5 receptions, just 23 yards. That's it. That's 3.3 yards per target. They completely shut him down. Dalton Schultz was the most productive with his 128-yard reception. That was the most yards of any player on the team. After that, Cade Stover caught 1 reception for 15 yards. Xavier Hutchinson had that unbelievable catch that I thought about sealed the game against us for 11 yards. But that was his only catch of the day. Joe Mixon, 3 targets, 2 receptions, just 9 yards. Tank Dell, 4 targets, 0 receptions. Ogunbowale, 1 target, 0 receptions. Everybody was shut down. Not one single receiver on this team did a freaking thing, period. I mean, Stephon Diggs, 7 targets, 5 receptions is not a bad day, but he only had 23 yards. That's 1 reception for a lot of guys. Seriously, Romeo Doubs, his longest reception was 23 yards. He had 1 reception for as many yards as Stephon Diggs had. Wicks had a 30-yard reception. Dalton Schultz on his own team had a 28-yard reception. It was his only one. Absolute beating by the Packers defense. Speaking of, Eric Wilson, unbelievable day by him. 6 tackles, 6 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss, and a pass deflection. Good Lord. Xavier McKinney was 6 tackles, 5 of them solo, with a sack. Rashawn Gary was terrorizing the quarterback all day long. He had 5 tackles, 2 solo, and a sack. Evan Williams led the team in tackles, not surprisingly. That guy was tackling everybody. 9 tackles, 6 of them solo. Kenny Clark had 4 tackles, just 2 solo, but 2 tackles for a loss. Edrin Cooper, 3 tackles, 2 of them for a loss. Lucas Van Ness had 1 tackle for a loss. And I think that's about it for the interesting notes. Special teams. Usually just gloss over this. We're not going to gloss over this. Kick return, Keyshawn Nixon had 2 for 58. That's 29-yard average. 32 is his long, so really not bad at all. They usually don't even give him opportunities. But he, on average, got back to the 30. Or, got 30 yards. If you start at the 5, it's a pretty good day. Punt return was bad. Keyshawn, one return for 8 yards. Ballantyne, 1 return for 0 yards. Jaden Reed, 1 return for 5 yards. McManus was 3 for 3 on extra points and 100% on his field goals, hitting his 1 field goal. I mean, as much as it's kind of funny, like, you made 1 field goal, like, yeah, he's the best ever. I mean, that's the difference in the game, right? Won by 2 points. If you miss the field goal or 2 extra points, which might sound ridiculous to some, but not us, that's it. It's game over, right? We know that. We've talked about the fact that we've lost, 2 games by a total of 7 points? And how many field goals have we missed in that period? A ton. But then you want to talk about one of the best performances I've ever seen. Our punter, Daniel Whelan, 5 punts, 284 yards, 56.8 average. His longest kick, according to this, was 66 yards. I heard somebody out there in the atmosphere saying that it was actually almost a 70-yard kick that he had in this game. Either way, good Lord, this guy is impressive. I mean, he's punting on the other side of Tommy Townsend. Tommy Townsend did a fantastic job. He had 6 punts, 307 yards, 51.2 average, 1 touchback, 4 of those kicks went inside the 20, and he also had a 66-yarder that was his longest. Those are some serious boots, but still, Daniel Whelan was better. I mean, obviously he didn't have any inside the 20 because of where he was punting from, but he had a 57 average compared to Tommy Townsend's 51.2. Again, that might have to do with where you're kicking from, but still, just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Team stats, Packers ran 56 plays, Texans ran 58. On those plays, Packers had 277 yards compared to 197. On a per-play basis, the Packers had almost 5 yards per play, 4.9, which is pretty good, trying to get first downs and 10 yards, 3 tries, it's mathematically checks out. The Texans, just 3.4 yards per play. That's wild. Both teams had 55 yards worth of penalties, although the Packers had 8 penalties compared to the Texans' 5. 3 touchdowns compared to 2. Turnovers, 3 turnovers to 0. Completion percentage, Jordan was 73%, which is fantastic. CJ Stroud, 47.6%, 195 to 55 yards, 5.9 yards per attempt passing compared to just 2.6. 3 passing touchdowns to 0. Sack percentage, Jordan Love was sacked 8.3% of the time. CJ Stroud was sacked 16% of the time. Texans had 33 carries, 142 yards, which is 4.3 average. Packers had 20 carries for 82 yards. That's 4.1 average, almost identical. Packers had 18 first downs compared to their 15. Third down conversion was, the offense wasn't great, but you want to talk about the story of the game. The Texans went for it, but had a third down conversion attempt 13 different times, converted 4 of them. 31% third down completion rate. Now, the Packers are just 40%, which sucks. But to hold a team to 31%, and again, remember, we had 40%. Number 2 defense in football. What did our defense do to them? Red zone, Packers were 2 for 2. Texans were 2 for 4, 50%. Pass deflections, according to this, Packers had 1. I feel like they had more than that. But, okay, 1 to 5. And that is about the end of that. I didn't save the preliminary PFF grades, which I'm fine with because some of the stuff changed by quite a bit. But we can look at the recap here as well as the snap counts. PFF says, in his first game with Green Bay, veteran kicker Brandon McManus nailed a 45-yard field goal as time expired, leading the Packers to a 24-22 victory over the Houston Texans on Sunday. Packers quarterback Jordan Love completed 25 of his 34 attempts for 224 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the offense was far from perfect as he also threw 2 interceptions and had 2 other passes dropped by his receivers. The Texans' offense generated a disappointing negative .30 EPA per pass play, the second worst single-game mark of Stroud's career. Again, not a bad day. They gave player of the game to Mixon, so we'll leave that. Snap counts on offense. You've got 4 offensive linemen that played every snap. Zach Tom missed 1. He had 57 snaps because of a shoe issue. Next player with the most snaps, again, is Tucker Kraft. That dude is the offense right now. He's basically another offensive lineman that sometimes goes out and catches passes. He's out for almost every single play. Romeo Doubs, again, outsnaps all the wide receivers with 48, and for good reason. Again, I shouldn't say again, but it kind of makes you, again, wonder why he's upset, because he's our number 1 wide receiver right now. I don't know. Whatever. Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. One of those players was a quarterback, Jordan Love. So there's another wide receiver, or, God, I can't talk. Another offensive lineman, Sean Ryan, played 45 snaps. That's compared to Jordan Morgan, just 13. So we'll check out the grades, but seems like Jordan Morgan's possibly getting a little demoted here. He did not perform very well last week. Didn't get a lot of opportunities this week. We'll have to see how that panned out. Jaden Reed had the next most snaps for wide receivers at 43. Then Josh Jacobs, 39, Christian Watson, 31, Wicks, 24, Sims, 16, Morgan, as I said, 13, Emmanuel Wilson, 12, Bo Melton, 8, Chris Brooks, 8, Andrew Breck, 5, Kadeem Telfort, 1, Malik Heath, 1. Defensive snaps, we got 3 full-time starters. We're back. Evan Williams, again, is a full-time starter, which seemed to pan out once again. As I said, 2 weeks ago, Evan Williams played every single snap. Last week, Bullard was almost every single snap, or every, I don't remember if it was every or almost every, but he was basically the full-time starter next to Keyshawn Nixon, Xavier McKinney. Dude, what is wrong with me right now? I need to take a break, go get some coffee. When I get through this, I am going to do that. There's something wrong with me, man. That game fried me. I am exhausted. Let me try that again. Bullard was next to McKinney. Then when they went to 3 cornerbacks, he slotted in the slot position and Evan Williams took over, meaning Evan Williams went to the bench when Bullard took over in more of a base set at safety. That doesn't seem to be the case this time, and I think all of us can rejoice in that reality because I think we all want Evan Williams to be that full-time guy. I think, once again, he rewarded us. We'll see what the grades are, but I kind of don't care because I know the dude had a good day. But, so Keyshawn Nixon also played all snaps. Jair just missed 1. I don't know exactly. That kind of happened last time. I think it's due to him coming back from injury. This must have been something else. I don't know. He came out for technical issues or what. But those are your full-time starters never coming off the field type of thing. It'll be interesting to see is Bullard just the slot guy now? I don't know. I know that's what fans have been screaming for. Maybe we finally reached that point. Eric Wilson played the next most snaps at linebacker. So, interesting that Wilson, who is kind of our number, 4 linebacker, when Quay went out, they didn't just shift everybody. They kept Edgerrin and McDuffie where they are and just said, Wilson, you are now the Mike linebacker. And that also seemed to really pan out because Obviously, they see Wilson more as a fit in that specific position, but they could have just as easily said, Edgerrin, you're now this, and either Wilson plays Edgerrin's spot or McDuffie can take that spot and whatever. So Eric Wilson ends up taking that spot, playing the remainder of every snap, did a fantastic job. Kenny Clark then with 47 snaps, McDuffie 44, Edgerrin 41, Rashawn 38, Kingsley 36, Van Ness 35, Slayton 30, Bullard 29, Preston 28, Brooks 22, Wooden 19, Quay 13 due to injury. Stokes played 8 snaps, Ballantyne played 2. So, again, Stokes came in for a couple plays, Ballantyne came in for a couple. It's funny, we're sitting here wondering, is Ballantyne or Stokes going to win the job? Neither. Keyshawn's going to win the job. And, again, seems to be panning out quite well. So, all right, let's take our final break. I'll officially hand out game balls on the other side of it, and then we'll do see what the press conferences and the locker room stuff is all about, and then we'll get out of here. We'll be right back. All right, let's do game balls. Now, there's a lot of guys that I'd love to say did pretty well and probably deserve them, but I'm just not sure. So there aren't probably as many game balls as there should be. But on the offensive side, I just have one, and it's Romeo Doubs. I think you could probably make a strong case for Tucker Kraft, and it's entirely possible somebody in the offensive line did well, but I don't know who that would be. But I'm going to stick with Romeo Doubs because the amount of times this guy went out and dug out some passes, man. I mean, he did not have a ton of separation on a lot of these. Some of them were just beautiful passes by Jordan, but still, he was being draped all over. He had to go out and dig out some low passes. He had to get some off the sideline and drag his feet down. If there's somebody I can look at and say, we don't win this game without him, I have to say Romeo Doubs. Now, again, Tucker did have the touchdown, so you could easily go with that as well, or Josh Jacobs had a touchdown, whatever, but I'm just sticking with Romeo Doubs. Defense, again, a lot of guys that I think probably deserve it, but I'm going to kind of withhold judgment because I don't know what happened behind the scenes aside from those few plays. But Rashawn Gary would be one of those maybe, but I want to see. I know he was terrorizing C.J. Stroud the first part of the game. He did end up with only the 1 sack, though, so I'm kind of curious to see how that all sorts itself out at the end. I want to see what the statistics are between, NFL Pro and PFF and whatnot. Evan Williams also is an on-the-fencer for me. He was there on a lot of tackles. Huge stop for the 2-point conversion. I didn't see him do anything but great things. But for the most part, it was just tackles, and I don't really know outside of that how good of a job he did. He's probably the closest to getting one, but not. But I got to give it to Eric Wilson. That guy was absolutely on fire. Every time we needed a big play, he was the one that did it. He's coming up with sacks, and by the way, he's stepping in for a starter to take sort of that number 1 linebacker job as sort of a number 4. Now, he's an experienced guy. He's been around a long time. Goes back to Minnesota. He's a special team. Like, he's on the field a lot. He's been playing for a long time. He's no young pup out there. But, man, he just did everything with his hair on fire and looked fantastic. I don't necessarily want to go so far as saying he should replace Quay, but, I mean, we should at least have the conversation. Do I expect Eric Wilson to perform at that level ever again? Maybe not. But the fact that he was given one opportunity to replace Quay and probably had a better day than Quay's ever had as a Green Bay Packer, it's worth having the conversation. Aside from that, I mean, you can give it up to a lot of guys. I mean, Jair, Keyshawn, Bullard, anybody in coverage. I mean, they gave up nothing. Boys up front with constant pressure. But I'm gonna give my one ball to Wilson. And then, hilariously, 1 for offense, 1 for defense. I'm doing 2 for special teams. Daniel Whelan had one of the better punting outings I've seen in a very long time. Unbelievable day. Field position was rough. It didn't get much better after he punted because he's punting out of our end zone, but about as good of a job as you could ever expect to make it just not a complete disaster. Absolutely deserving. And then I don't care. I'm giving a game ball to Brandon McManus. He was 3 for 3 on his extra points. He was 2 for 2 on those field goals. He made one, got iced. Then he made the second one after the freaking long snapper dirted it in the ground. I should probably have our placeholder, who I'm guessing was Daniel Whelan, so he got a ball anyways. I'll give him a second game ball for that for picking that up, but gets it up just in time. McManus probably had to readjust his swing. It looked like that thing was going to hook hard left. It did at first, and then just kind of sat there and just stayed. It's one of those things like, please don't keep going left. You just want it to cross the bars before it continues going left, and it did. Drills that kick, wins us the game, high-pressure situation. I don't give a crap. He's getting a game ball. But I tell you what, man, I've said before, the thing that has got this team over the hump and got us to Super Bowl has been defense. That's not to say we didn't have great offenses that got us there with great quarterbacks, Brett and Rodgers and the receivers and all the great things the offense did. But we had a lot of offenses that never got us across the hump. What they needed was a good complementary defense. And what I've seen the last 2 weeks, I can't remember seeing a Packers defense just play that well consistently. I mean, it's only 2 weeks, but when you factor in even the quote-unquote bad weeks, they are dominating in turnovers. The fact that they're seemingly starting to really tighten this thing up. It was a real opponent this time, right? It wasn't some weak opponent where it's like, yeah, maybe they're not that good. Maybe it's just a bad opponent, whatever. This was a legit playoff contender, Super Bowl contender in the Houston Texans, and just a dominant performance. And again, we got back-to-back weeks that we've seen it, and I'm ready to see what this thing looks like for the remainder of the season, because holy cow, that was fantastic. And it's unfortunate that the Texans got so many short fields, because the score that they got was not a reflection of how they played whatsoever. I think I took a note at halftime. C.J. Stroud had completed 5 passes and they had 19 points. That's bullcrap, okay? That is your quarterback and your special teams just pooping in their pants and giving the team a short field to work with so they can just gallop into the end zone. By the way, I'm just pulling up some clips to go through, but I came across this line from C. Coles. It said, Anders Carlson just hit a 55-yard field goal for the 49ers. He truly is a domestic terrorist. For the record, I always trusted him on 55-yarders. I mean, that was a done deal. So before we get to the locker room thing, I just became a huge Sean Ryan fan. We'll see how the grades pan out. It seems like he's taken a bit of a step here this year. Anyways, I'm going to play this video just for the first few seconds. And it's just guys coming through the hallway, cheering, let's go, the whole 9 yards. Starts off with Ja doing the strap deal, whatever. You take a guess where Sean Ryan is in here.
Come on, get this. Hey. Yeah. Go!
Jeez. Oh, my Lord. That is terrifying. Hit me with that one more time, Sean.
Go!
Oh, that's a scary freaking guy, man. I'm sorry, Jordan Morgan. We got to find another spot for you. I don't know. Maybe we'll move Elton Jenkins to center and you can play guard over there or something. I don't know, but my Lord. He just looks like he wants to kill somebody. Everybody else just having a good time, giggling. Yeah, we got the dub. Let's go. Everybody's having a good time out here. Sean Ryan comes strolling through. Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. All right, locker room time. Take it away, Coach.
Sheesh. I mean, that went down to the last second, man. Give it up for everybody. We knew we'd take some punches, and so much in this game is how you respond. We found a way to get it done. Good job.
A lot of heavy editing in there, I've noticed so far.
A couple guys I'd like to mention. This guy let us down there on that drive. Jay Love finished. Romeo Dobbs had 8 for 95. And Josh Jacobs, big dog. Big touchdown reception.
That is crazy. That's his first career touchdown reception ever. The Raiders are stupid.
Big dogs. Give it up for our defense. Hey, man. 22 points, and there were some unfavorable situations, some bad situations that we put you guys in, and way to stay strong, man, and find a way. We had X with the sack, RG with a sack, and Eric Wilson with 2 sacks. I got 3 game balls today, all right? First one, we just talked about the defense, and this guy shows up every week. Where's Jeff Halfley at?
Yes! Hey! Your ass up here, Hal! Your ass up here, Hal! Yeah, Hal! Yeah, Hal! Your hair ain't moved.
Hey, you know what? He calls an aggressive-ass game, and it's because of the trust he has in the men in this room. So great job defensively.
Hell yeah, Hal.
This guy totally flipped the field today, man. He had 5 punts, averaged 57 yards a punt. And you guys know who this last one goes to.
Yeah. Come on now.
This guy just got here a few days ago.
Let's lock in, man. Pack on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it always feels good, man. Here in the locker room after the win, it's got to be one of my favorite things. I went through that live with you. I hadn't heard that yet. A lot of the same game balls, man. I didn't think to give one to Halfley. I should have. That makes sense. Just a great defensive performance all the way around. Halfley absolutely deserves that game ball. I like it. I like the recognition, and I like the opportunity to have the whole locker room just freak out over the coach, you know? I think that's a good thing for the team. I think it's a good thing for the defense and the relationship between the players and coaches, etc. But yeah, the 2 specialists getting game balls, man, that's hilarious. I was borderline hoping he was going to give himself a game ball there. Here's one for Halfley, and then you know who this next one's going to. It's going to me. That's right. By the way, I want to play this for you, too. This is the game-winning kick. This is via Big B, by the way. He was at the game and recorded it. Just hearing, it's funny because we all were doing the same thing. I saw, forgive me for forgetting who it was. Somebody in the Facebook group had posted themselves during that. And what I said, my comment on that was, you and I were synced up perfectly on that. And I think every Packer fan was doing the same thing. On my knees, begging whoever will listen to please let us win this game. Occasionally, like falling on all fours, putting your hands on the ground, just looking at the ground. Like, oh, please, arms folded, hands on head, rubbing the beard, like just standing up occasionally to pace and then falling back to your knees. We all went through it collectively. It's cool to hear tens of thousands of Packer fans go through this at the same time. The other good thing, too, is if you listen, you can hear there is a collective groan for a period because the snap was bad. So everybody saw the botched snap and thought, oh, we just lost the game. And then you hear the roar of the crowd. And the cool thing is he's on the side, so I don't know if they could necessarily see it. So you hear the cheers from far away, and that kind of signaled to everybody else that we can cheer. But here is a 20-second clip of those final seconds. Oh, that feels good. That just gives you chills, man. But yeah, I don't know if you could hear it, just for a brief second, you can hear I saw that ball hit the ground, and I just thought, I can't believe this is how it ends. We finally go get a kicker that I think can make this, and the freaking long snapper dirts it. Crazy. Boy, this would be a good one for tomorrow. I don't honestly think we have enough time to go through this. We got Gary, Wilson, and McManus. Then we've got Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur, who were at the podium. I know we got PFF tomorrow, so this might even be like a 2 days from now thing. But I don't want it to be an hour and a half podcast, and I don't want to shortchange any of this either. So I would play the Stephon Diggs thing, but every other word is a swear, and they didn't edit it out at all. So it's bottom line is, I mean, he just, he's kind of somber and doesn't really give a ton of insight into the banter back and forth. He kind of puts the blame on Jair, kind of talking about how it seems as though he's the one starting it, and he says, I'm never the bigger person, which is a pretty funny line. I wouldn't doubt that, by the way, that Jair's the one chirping. I mean, that dude's got a mouth on him, and I respect the living crap out of it. I love the way he plays. I love the way he is. I think occasionally it's going to hurt us. I was kind of worried down the stretch he was going to get some penalties in there, but I like his mentality. I like what he brings to the defense. I love it, and the Stephon Diggs thing is great as long as you can back it up, and he did. It's not always that way. Sometimes, he runs his mouth and he ends up getting beat. We've talked about that. Last year, especially under a different defensive regime, they gave him the opportunity to play in man coverage, and it didn't work. Now, again, that's a zone defense, basically just giving him carte blanche to go play man, I guess, which you can't necessarily expect great results when you don't coach that or teach that so much, whereas Hafley spends a lot of time teaching press man technique. It's a big emphasis for him, not that they play it all. There's a lot of zone here, too, but the point is, he teaches how to play press, and it's a part of his overall system and philosophy and everything else. So some better results here. Let's end with this. Let's do this instead. We'll go over some of the insights from NFL Pro here. Danielle Hunter generated 5 of his 7 pressures across 18 matchups with Packers right tackle Zach Tom, including 1 quick pressure and 1 sack. So Danielle Hunter putting some serious pressure on Zach Tom today. 7 pressures on 30 total pass rushes. That's 23.3% pressure rate. Zach Tom's been great for us. I'm not going to talk down to the guy, but he got the crap beat out of him today. That's just the way it is. Josh Jacobs totaled 76 rushing yards across 12 carries in Week 7 against the Texans, generating a positive 21 rush yards over expected. He's one of the top in the league at rush yards over expected. Jacobs now has generated positive 79 rush yards over expected in his first season with the Packers, 8th most among running backs entering the Week 7 afternoon slate. Jacobs also added on 5 receptions for 16 yards and a touchdown through the air, recording 32 yards after the catch. So, I mean, there's no question watching Josh Jacobs. If you're looking for a guy that generates over expected, this is your guy. I mean, Aaron Jones was good at it too, but in a different way. He was so slippery and just slipping past people. This guy's just hard to bring down. I mean, he's quick. He's surprisingly shifty and elusive. He's more like one-cut shifty as opposed to like Aaron Jones with the way he just glides around. But man, he can put his foot in the ground and go, and then trying to bring him down with an arm tackle is just a thing that is not going to happen. So off to a solid start. C.J. Stroud completed 10 of his 21 passes for 86 yards in Week 7 against the Packers, facing pressure on a career-high 48.3% of his dropbacks. Think about that. This is what I've been talking about all year, which is what makes this so difficult. On one hand, I'm pissed that our guys up front can't generate. That wasn't necessarily the case in this game, but generally speaking, I'm just furious. But at the same time, the team generates plenty of pressures. Right? If it's just a 4-man rush, how often do our guys win? Not often enough. But man, do they do a good job of generating pressures in general. Now, I do imagine that they did better with 4-man and with like Rashawn and some of the other guys. But think about that. Career high. So as we sit here and piss and moan about the pass rush not being good enough, C.J. Stroud was under pressure more than he's ever been in his entire career. Stroud finished the game with just 3 of 9 for 40 yards and 4 sacks while under pressure. This is a quarterback that's one of the best under pressure. 3 of 9 for 40 yards and 4 sacks, adding on 1 scramble for 6 yards. The Packers entered Week 7 generating pressures on just 31.7% of opposing dropbacks, which is 19th in the NFL, but recorded their highest pressure rate of the season in this contest. Why? I mean, I'm not even touching the frickin' thing here. I got to buy a new cord. I can't do this anymore. I'm hoping that's the issue. Apologies. So, yes, almost 50% pressure rate in this game. That's incredible. Jordan Love completed 24 of his 33 passes for 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in Week 7 against the Texans, recording a season-high positive 9.8% completion percentage over expected. So, it's weird. I'm not going to say he had a good game because those interceptions weren't great. Granted, it's just 2 throws, but at the same time, if you don't look at those, some of those throws he made were unbelievably good. Beyond that, talking about a sneaky good game, 9.8% CPOE. Coming into this game, he was dead last in completion percentage over expected. It was real bad, right? It was an accuracy issue. It was a lot of like just not putting the ball where it's supposed to be. And he comes in with, roughly 10% over expected. Now, that's not going to move the needle much as far as where he is on the season, but that's a positive. Again, you're looking at the negative, the 2 interceptions, but you kind of sneak around, look at some of the other stuff. Things are working. I think my biggest issue with Jordan in general, aside from, again, the interceptions in general need to stop. I don't know what it's going to take for him to get him to just plant his feet. He loves throwing the fadeaway jumpers, man. My Lord. Anyways, Love completed 19 of his 22 attempts under 2.5 seconds on Sunday, recording 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception on quick attempts, which is a positive 3 EPA. Entering Week 7, Love had generated just negative 7.5 EPA on quick pass attempts. That's incredible. Also, I think there's a big shout-out to Romeo Doubs on that because those slant routes were just killing today. But he had the 6th fewest in the NFL. Love also recorded 2 of his 3 touchdowns on passes of 10-plus air yards, increasing his season total to 8, the most touchdowns over 10 air yards in the NFL entering Week 7's afternoon slate. It's a roller coaster, man. A lot of people have pointed out, look, he's got the most interceptions in the NFL and he missed 2 games. That's terrible. Yeah, got the most touchdowns too, though. Maybe he doesn't anymore, but it's just a constant roller coaster. The interceptions do need to chill. I don't know. The first one was the one that really bothered me. The second one, less so. The second one just barely sailed on. It wasn't a bad decision. If that ball wasn't so high, if you take that ball and drop it 2 feet, that's probably caught instead of intercepted. Of course, the defender could go through the wide receiver or whatever the case. Drop it, 4 feet, it's 100% a catch. But this guy's, he's a machine, and he goes out and he delivers, and some of those balls are just incredible. And you're starting to get that feel between Jordan and Romeo, similar to Rodgers and some of his guys. Just the feel, the comfortability, putting the ball right in the right spot and trusting Romeo's going to be able to dig it out, and he does. Point is, it's not all bad, right? A lot of people mad at Jordan. Went back in the Facebook group. Some people are just furious. I'm guessing that kind of tamped down once the game was over. But, it is unacceptable. Some of that stuff is just stupid. It's like, well, he takes risks. Listen, that first interception had nothing to do with risks. He stared down Wicks, watched him go right between 2 defenders, and threw it anyways. That has nothing to do with risks. That's just stupid, right? So you can look at that and say, I don't want to hear about risks. You got to freaking chill out, right? That's just crazy. That's you being lazy. That's like you determined before the snap this is where we're going to go and didn't recalibrate. Okay? It was early, though. He moved on and ended up okay. But again, bottom line, plenty of reason to be upset, but I think there's a lot of good that could go unnoticed, and I'm actually excited to go back. I may do this. We'll see. Look at all the other throws because there were some really pretty just go back and look at his completions. There were some pretty completions in this game. Here we go, Rashawn Gary. Let's see if he can earn a game ball. Rashawn Gary generated a season-high 7 pressures and 1 sack on 18 pass rushes. Wait a minute. He only rushed the passer 18 times and he had 7 pressures, resulting in his second highest pressure rate of his entire career. Game ball! Go get me a game ball, ladies and gentlemen. Holy crap. Second highest pressure rate of his career, 38.9%. Gary recorded 1 pressure against 4 different Texans blockers. Tunsil, Howard, Schultz, and who the heck is that? Quitoriano. Dude should have quit Toriano a long time ago. You know what I'm talking about? Quit is in the beginning. Don't worry about it. Entering Sunday, Gary had created pressure on a career low 10.6% of pass rushes through his first six weeks of the season. By the way, remember, a lot of things started to turn the corner. We said last week Rashawn Gary kind of took his first step forward. It wasn't like the best game in the world, but it was like, okay, that was good. Let's build on that. Now he has the second best game of his entire career. And by the way, these are not scrub players. Laramie Tunsil is one of the best in the NFL. That dude is a good football player. They got some decent tackles in Houston. So let's hope that this continues. We haven't seen a good Rashawn Gary in a while, right? After the contract, it's sort of like he disappeared. Some people said injury, whatever, doesn't matter. Disappeared. Coming into this season, he didn't really show up. Maybe it's a change of scheme. I don't know. Making excuses, hoping things change. Panic. Talking about myself. And then 2 weeks, by the way, 2 weeks now, we've got defense playing well. By the way, Jair coming back, I think makes a little bit of a difference. But man, if you got Jair playing and playing at a high level, you got the safeties playing at a high level. You got, by the way, I mean, we'll see what Keyshawn did, but if he's playing really well on the boundary, because last week he was great on the boundary, suddenly we have 2 solid corners. I'm not talking like the safeties number 1 and 2. I'm saying give me 2 top 25 corners. Give me like 1 top 15, 1 top 25. That's game over when you're talking 2 top 5 safeties. Now you can let guys like Rashawn Gary eat because there's nowhere to go. Now we start feeling confidence to bring extra blitzers. And you start unleashing guys. Now's when you start to see Halfley actually open up the book as opposed to calling one of his 4 plays because there's no Jair and I don't trust anybody on this team and I don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Jair's back. Oh, and by the way, this rookie safety's really freaking good. Maybe he should play all the time. Oh, actually, Keyshawn's a little better on the boundary. Oh, wait, this Bullard guy can play slot. Oh, man, Quay got hurt and we can put somebody else in there. Dang, that's crazy. Listen, I'm sorry, man. I just, it is what it is. It got better. What do you want me to say? Jordan Love has thrown at least 2 touchdowns and 1 interception of each of the 4 games he's played in this season. The interception thing probably should chill out, but the touchdowns are out. I was actually hoping he'd get 4 because I think, wouldn't that be 3 in a row? I was wondering what the stats would have been on that, but yeah, he's been remarkable with the touchdowns. I mean, he's out here breaking Packers records compared to Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. Or at the very least, like keeping pace with their best seasons. So again, it's like I'm not trying to make excuses. I understand people are pissed, some people, and I'm not trying to discredit the fact that yes, that needs to chill out. And we very easily could have lost this game because Jordan can't control himself. That was right there on the cusp. I get that. I'm just saying, let's also look at the other stuff because it's kind of crazy. All right, well, that's it. I can't wait for PFF to come out and for NFL Pro to kind of unleash some of this stuff so we can dig into it. I'm sure there's going to be some grades I'm going to be ticked about. I saw some stuff in the preliminaries. A lot of defensive players had bad grades. I was not happy. We'll see how that ends up, but we did it, man. We did it. Good game. Good win. Packers continue on with a fantastic record of 5-2. As much as it feels like, oh, here we go, the slow start again, it's like we're one of the top teams in football right now. So there's really nothing to be upset about. Packers continue to roll on, having beat one of their toughest opponents this year. Even, you look at it and say, wow, the 49ers, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I'm not sure. Actually, the 49ers are on, let me check right now, see what the 49ers are doing. Losing by 2, go Chiefs. Hope I never have to say that again. But, I mean, they're on their way to... Yeah, they'll have a 3-4 record if they lose this game. Probably still going to struggle because it's the 49ers and it's just how it goes. But, I mean, who else on the schedule do you look at and say, yeah, that's going to be way harder than the Chiefs? I mean, look, the NFC North is tough. As much as I want to look at the Vikings and be like, ha, you bunch of suckers, I knew you were frauds. I can't. Good Lord, I thought they played pretty well. It's hard to tell. Maybe they both sucked. I don't know, whatever. But, you're watching, every time I peeked, I'm obviously watching the Packers game more. I'm watching the Vikings with the ball, and I'm like, please suck. Please just throw a ball out of the stadium and look like an idiot. And Darnold didn't. Some of the passes he threw were like, good Lord, that is a freaking dot, dude. It just ticks me off. But yeah, we got Jaguars next week, which I don't want to talk too soon, but literally one of the worst teams in football. We already talked about it with the Bears, dead last in pass defense. They did just eviscerate the Patriots, but hopefully that's not really anything other than being an overseas game where the Jaguars are much more comfortable. Plus, it's the Patriots who suck. But, I mean, that's clearly not anything remotely close to the Texans. Then we got the Lions, and that's probably going to be tough. I struggle to imagine it's as difficult as the Texans, but, it's at home, it's Lions, and then we got a bye week. If we can win these 2 games, go to 7-2, I mean, even 6-3 is tolerable, but 7-2, and then we go into a bye week. Come out of that bye week, we got the Bears in Chicago. I'm hoping by that point we feel comfortable that we're better than the Bears. We got to see the Bears play a competent team, which I don't think they do. I don't even know if they do prior to us being there. Then we got the 49ers. Then we got Miami. I mean, this was supposed to be a really tough stretch, right? Cardinals are going to be tough. The Rams are going to be tough. The Texans, the Lions, the 49ers, the Dolphins. Turns out the Rams are garbage. The Cardinals are garbage. The freaking Jaguars suck. And then we got the 49ers, who are maybe not as good as we thought. Miami, I mean, Tua might be coming back, but I still just don't think that's going to be a very good team. Point is, things change, man. So, I mean, we got a real shot here of going 7-2. Again, Lions are a tough team. There's no two ways about it. But with no Aiden Hutchinson on that team, we'll go back and review some of the grades and whatnot from that game. But I really feel like that's a very winnable game, especially at home. If we just don't crap the bed against the Jaguars, beat them in Florida, come home, beat the Lions 7-2, I mean, come on. At that point, it's just a matter of, we just got to make sure we get X amount of wins. And again, you're saying, 3 more wins should get you into the playoffs. And, didn't catch it, loser. And we got Bears, Dolphins, Seahawks, Saints, Bears again. Even if we're scared of the 49ers, Lions, and Vikings and don't think we could win a single one of those, although Vikings certainly are beatable. We almost beat them last time, and Jordan played like garbage. It's almost hard to imagine that we don't just waltz into the playoffs very easily. If we can beat the Jaguars and then beat the Lions, it's difficult to imagine. Not going to look it up right now, but I cannot imagine a lot of teams that started... that was the worst pick ever, you idiot. Yes. Oh, I want the 49ers to be bad. I can't imagine a lot of 7-2 teams miss the playoffs. That's all I'm saying. So, great win for the Packers. Big win for the Packers. And we march. Isn't that it? You guys have a great rest of your day. We may do it. I don't know if we've ever done... Have we never done a Laughing at the Vikings before? We might have to do that this week. I don't know that we can't, but anyways, having a hard time saying goodbye because I'm in such a good mood and I just want to hang out with you guys even though there's nobody actually here with me. But have a good rest of your day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Packers rolling, feeling strong. Lambeau lights, we play all night long. Jordan Love through 3, 4, 6. 2 mistakes, but we still got the fix. Mix and try, Stroud got sacked. Packers fought, no looking back.